Greetings, I present to you the SMK, the Sentinel's Marvellous Kaleidoscope, on CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph, Ontario, through the web on CFRU.ca, syndicating across Canada, and right here on CFRU's YouTube channel. I am your guardian overseer, Nicholas Cooper. We will be looking inward and beyond along the branches of progressive, fusion, and alternative genres, other unique discoveries near and far, and other anomalies. Join me as we gaze into the audible lens out of the diverse musical landscape on the ever-changing horizon. The following feature contains mild language and subject matter that might not be suitable for all sentient beings. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah, this is like the highlight of my week.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah. Right. Welcome, my good sentries, to this first resurrected special of the audience interview series, which I've now named an audience afar from the observational tower. As you listeners and viewers of CFRU know, we cannot access the physical station at this time, and I can't have artists come in to the studio for these interviews. But thankfully, Zoom has the ability for us to record both audio and video. And I have been missing interviews and talking with artists and music. So in this first comeback, I have a very special guest who's right here. Why don't you introduce yourselves to everyone?
Hey, everyone. My name is Jesse. I'm one of the contributors in Other Families. I helped start the group in 2010, and I'm still doing it.
Oh, it's that long. It's 10 years now.
10 years, baby.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That's incredible.
I think we did the first couple shows in 2011. So there was like a year of just like prep time with the first incarnation. And then like after a year of like writing the first album, we didn't play a show until the first album was done. So I'm going to say like maybe next year we'll do a real 10-year, like a 10-year party kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like this, I think this year now is completely a write-off for lots of things and projects.
Yeah. That's okay. Next year is going to be double good. Double good.
Extremely stupendous.
Right.
So I guess speaking of that, Jesse, how have you been coping and handling this COVID-19 quarantine?
That's a really good question, man. That's a really good question. First, how have you been? How have you been during this whole? I'll go back at you.
I would describe it as an ebb and flow between like harmonious and calm, and then just total anxiety, and like it's in between that, and being able to or being in one place is kind of does that to you.
Yeah, I feel that big time. I'm a pretty solitary guy. Like I live by myself, and I like it that way. And I've always kind of considered myself to be like a very like private dude. Like I love people, but I also really value like my time apart. So coming into this, I thought like, hey, perfect. Like this is gonna be great, right? But like the missing piece of the puzzle here is like the social aspect, you know, like it's just talking and smiling and that kind of thing, right? And I think like there's a universal shift to looking at like mental health right now in a different light, and like that's really really cool because like prior to this, there's a lot of people I think that might not have been able to, like, this has changed a lot about how I think about myself, right? No longer am I like a totally solitary dude. No, it doesn't work like that anymore, you know? Like
the perspectives have changed, and people have been experiencing maybe some of the things that us solitary guys go through, or people go through.
And vice versa, right? Like all of a sudden I'm not in my comfy place anymore. But that's kind of what it's all about. I kind of like I value that kind of stuff too, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
If it's uncomfortable, that it's gonna, I don't know, like if you can get through it, generally something good comes out the other end of being like kind of anxious and uncomfortable like this, you know?
I guess there's some perks and treasures that come with this kind of unique struggle. I bet.
Especially with I think with artsy creative people in general, it's like a real grab bag. I know personally, I haven't been. My productivity is like not great. It's not. There's not nothing, but like it's not good. But then again, I know some artists who are really taking advantage of this time, and like, I wish I could. I wish I could be there, but at the same time, like, it's to each his own, and like, I think in order to be creative like that, like I kind of got to live a little bit, you know. I think that's the thing. Like if the same day just repeats over and over again, like it's hard to, I don't know, get those crazy creative thoughts coming in.
Juices going.
Yeah, exactly.
And then seeing all the creativity might also act as a stressor as well.
That's a good point. That's a good point. What do they got that I don't got? Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Like for me, because I'm doing my Piers Ulvi bass clarinet with guitar effect pedal project, the first few weeks I was able to get some good like new pieces like thought up, and now the past few weeks has been nothing good.
Exactly. There's bits and like there's small stints of like good days, like good productive days, but covered in crap, covered in nothing, like covered in just sitting on the couch, covered in watching YouTube and drinking coffees and stuff, you know.
And it's good to have just those days and just to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because it's understandable. Exactly. This is a unprecedented, different thing that we haven't really experienced ever.
Yep.
I don't think.
Yeah. Exactly. So it just kind of goes to show some people, like you could take this as something crazy and like, oh my God, I'm living right now. But like at the same time, I don't know, being around my house every single day, going out for groceries once a week and stuff, it's not really conducive to my kind of like creativity, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of that, has there something during this time that you've done completely different or kind of outrageous to try and break that schedule?
Yes, actually, there's a project that I just kind of got into, like last night. This is a weird one, man. This is a really weird project.
Oh, I'm ready for the weirdness.
Related at all. Sorry?
I'm ready for that weirdness.
Cool. So this is like I started this 2 days ago. I'm an animal lover. I really love animals, specifically reptiles, and I keep and breed a couple different species of snakes and tortoises.
Oh,
and I'm really interested in reptile enrichment. This is so weird to be talking about.
I've never heard of reptile enrichment before.
It's very it's kind of in its infancy, because like reptile medicine and reptile like the intelligence of reptiles is just kind of newly being studied, right? This woman that I really like on YouTube has a channel that's very centered around reptile enrichment. And one of the points that she brought up recently was something that I'm very interested in: auditory enrichment, because I'm an audio guy and I'm a recording dude, whatever. And reptiles have a very different sense of I'm sorry, a very different sense of hearing than we do. They have a different kind of ear structure. So I got in touch with this woman, and we're collaborating on not really music, but sounds that could potentially be used as reptile auditory enrichment. So they have to be within a certain frequency range because they don't have the same capacity of hearing as we do.
Or like they hear a different range in the sound spectrum.
Yeah. For instance, I have it right here. The snake, what's known to be generally the snake frequency range is between 80 and 600 hertz. And to put that into perspective, that's kind of like between where like a bass guitar might sit in a mix and like a female vocalist or something. The lower part of a female register is like in that range, right? So there's no cymbals, there's no high stuff, there's no super low sub bass. I'm sorry that this is like boring crap, but anyway, I'm getting into making music and sounds for reptiles. We'll see if it works, right? It's for science.
Well, yeah, it's like completely experimental. And that kind of just reminds me, I haven't seen that episode of Rick and Morty. Maybe you're going to go into snake jazz.
I know, yeah, man. I haven't seen it either, but everybody's telling me to get into that. As soon as I talk about this, like everyone's like, "Oh, you seen the snake jazz episode and stuff?" No, it's on my list. It's on my list. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't we start talking more now into other families?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, man.
like you said, you only contributed to starting the band, but if you don't mind me saying, I think you're the big daddy of Other Families.
Oh, thanks. I think
And like
there's two guys. Oh, sorry. Continue.
and it's an underrated, gorgeous creature of a collective that you've been running for almost 10 years now. Can you explain to us what Other Families is?
Yeah. Other Families started mostly as a band, and it still is a band, like a musical punk band with a kind of like a rotating lineup of musicians. And we've always had a focus on going kind of like above and beyond what a normal band might consider applicable. So, for instance, like we do a lot of theater productions, not just like in concerts, but also separate. Like in Montreal, we have a couple people who run Other Families as a theater company, like a different kind of thing, not a band at all, right? So
Yeah.
very multifaceted. We've done like books in the past and podcasts. We've done video games, and we've like all kinds of media arts. And we're gonna be branching out into different stuff this year. But I don't know. We're doing what we can. It's just like I'm really lucky to be in a project that's not only like kind of reinvents itself all the time, and it's like not only that, but the crew is different. Like I think the idea of having a band like the same four dudes or whatever like for years is kind of dated, and some people really make it work, but like it's very hard as an adult to commit to everything you're supposed to commit to, but also to like one band, right? Like and everybody's got to be on the same page. Like the truth of the matter with Other Families is that everybody's a ripping talented musician, and everybody's got like their own bands and stuff. I don't, because Other Families is like my main thing. But everybody else that has been in the band, like it's just such an awesome setup to be creative in, and like to network and get to know people. And you being in a band, like you really get to know people. Like it's like being a family with people. So like when your family is this extended, and like we can call on people who have been in there in the past, and like reach out to new people that we want to work with and stuff, and it's still just the same kind of umbrella. It's still just Other Families no matter what. And that's kind of the point, like to keep people on their toes. And some people are like, it's very polarizing as a product, because some people have a hard time digesting something that's constantly changing, and you don't know what to expect from it. But the people who are into it are like so into it. You know, Other Families has some fans, like some fans that like are so into it. And that's you. If you're going to be into it, you got to go full in, because there's a lot to take in, right? There's a lot coming at you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, lots of like style changes and member changes. I would actually like, I only thought about this the other day before this interview, that I would compare you guys to Jethro Tull, like because like Ian Anderson is the main core, but all the musicians around him have changed over the years, as well as styles going to like, they started off as a blues rock, and then folk rock, progressive rock, electronic rock, and world music. And yeah, like that's what Other Families is as well.
Yeah, man, that's a cool comparison. Jethro Tull. I forgot about that band. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So you would say the core of, like musically, core of Other Families is punk, right? What would or I guess where does that come from? Like why punk in particular?
Like if you tell somebody that Other Families is a punk band, it's gonna kind of give the wrong impression, because like it's not really punk music. A lot of the stuff is not really heavy. You know what I mean? It's a lot of it's not very like aggressive necessarily. There's a lot. I think it's very punk in terms of the mandate and the kind of um like the rules attitude behind other families, but like not in an overtly like the
Loud.
rules kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
just
loud.
like we don't really care about the rules at all. You know what I mean? Like we don't care about genre. That's not like even within a
Hmm.
song like that's not really a confining factor. We don't care about form or structure. That being said though, we totally will do a song that is like totally musical and has like full first chorus. Like that's totally
Hmm.
within, you know what I mean? Like so it's
Yeah.
punk in the just the general application of what we do is kind of punk. But the music itself, it's hard to call it punk rock. You know what I mean? It has aspects of it, but it also has way more prevalent aspects of like electronic music, for instance, and like jazz music and like extended technique, crazy musician music. You know that kind of stuff, which is not punk.
I would say like it's punk and experimental aesthetic is what like other families is. Like you guys stretch between so many musical techniques and textures, but punk and experimental are like the two forces that are colliding as well as commingling together.
Yeah, yeah, and I think any kind of like I love a lot of different types of music. I grew up on punk specifically, but like the kinds of music, for instance, like my favorite artist is Prince, and I think Prince is very punk in the same sense. You know what I mean? His music's not punk, but like he doesn't care about what you think. He doesn't care about the rules. He'll go up on stage and do a bunch of skits and stuff, and have everybody going like, what am I watching?" You know what I mean? He'll play drums for a bit. He'll go over here and play like the xylophone. It's punk. Like what else can you call that? You know,
Hmm.
experimental, I guess, but also like he doesn't. He, that kind of artist doesn't have regard for their audience, but that's kind of like the good part of it. You know, that's what grabs people.
Yeah, they well I guess Prince makes music for like the way he wants to make it and doesn't care about what others think. Is that kind of
That
what
that
you guys go for
hang
as
on.
well?
That's it, man. That's punk rock. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I think for a while I've been saying you guys as like progressive punk.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because like I guess like if a punk band suddenly brought in like I don't know like a dance DJ or something, that's kind of like other families.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of punk, right? And like I think a lot of what we borrow from in like the EDM community or like the folk or jazz is like those kinds of offshoots of those genres. They get into punky aspects too, you know what I mean? Like the resurgence of electronic music and dance music like around 2007. I could only see that as like a like a second coming of like frickin' punk, you know what I mean? When all those DJs started coming up, it's like let's try something totally new. Like, let's screw the whole band aesthetic. Let's make aggressive music just by myself. You know, like anytime somebody switches the table or turns it turns the table like that, that's punk. That's punk. Pretty punk.
Yeah, I've been noticing more bands incorporating the electronic textures and styles in machines as well.
It's all there, right? It's so like you can't really ignore it. Um,
Well,
it
yeah, with technology getting so prevalent now, it's hard to get away from,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
but it's also sometimes a good thing as well.
Yeah,
Once we
yeah,
know,
you got.
once we understand it.
I think you have to just acknowledge no matter what genre of music you're in right now, like you have to acknowledge like for instance hip hop and like synthesizers. Even if you're anti that, like you're gonna date yourself if you don't just nod to those things as existing. You know what I mean? Um, it's it, it goes a long way to incorporate things that are present into your music, even if you're like even if you're like classic rock to the core. You gotta like at least get that sensibility and like know that people are also listening to like hip hop and EDM or whatever it might be, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you said that Other Families started a decade ago. How exactly did it form?
Other Families originally was like me and my four best friends in high school. We just always were hanging around, and like I was me and the original guitar player. I was a musician. He was like a psychologist who was into guitars.
Oh,
The other guy was a an actor, and Zach, who's still in the band, was a writer, like a poet. So from the get go, like we had just, I think we knew we wanted to do something very like experimental with the form of the band, just because we're coming at it from different angles, and not all like not all of us could play instruments and stuff. So what we came up with was like this weird kind of hybrid that sort of paved it kind of gave us like the footwork to continue on in like a really progressive and experimental way. You know, it's nothing like it is now, the original incarnation, but it was still highly weird and experimental and
irregular.
like just kind of form bending. And like I think that just doing that gave us permission to kind of be like, okay, on the next album we want to do this thing, this crazy thing, and then on the one after that we're gonna get these things into it. And just having that experimental grounding from the get-go kind of like it brought us to where we are today with all these crazy members coming in and all this multifaceted like mixed media crap that we do.
Well, it's great that you are able to find other people that have the same like interests and values in eclectic music. You must feel really lucky.
Yeah, man. That's exactly how I describe it. I feel very lucky to be able to just not only just to freaking be a musician and just share what I come up with in my room with people who might be into it. That's cool enough, right? Like if I was by myself and people were into it, that's cool enough. But like to have like the best people and the most talented musicians like on this trip with us and stuff, and like they bring their fans into it too, and like it's just like it's the coolest experience, and it's like the funnest band to play in, especially live, because it's always a grab bag, and like whoever's in is always pretty down with like doing weird on stage and dressing up, or like having a couple lines in between songs and that kind of lines as in spoken lines, like in a script. That's what I meant.
Or I guess speaking of live performances, because we can't do that right now, can you paint us kind of a mosaic of what Another Families, or I guess it can't be a typical Other Families concert, but what would we expect as an audience member?
There have been like different eras, right? So like if you've seen us in the past, like when we put out Moonrock, like that album specifically, I wanted to kind of do like a pretty straight up band kind of thing. So there was a couple years where we were just doing band shows, right? That was pretty recently. But prior to that, we did a lot of like in Another Families concert. We were really into awkward, like mistakes, like awkward kind of scenarios that would make people think we were like messing up, or like
intentional.
Yeah, really uncomfortable, kind of like or like fake injuries, like I don't know, like we kind of played with the idea of like what can we get an audience to kind of believe. One in particular that's like really cool. One of my favorite things we used to do was something called the Pyramid Scheme Show, which came from the idea, like I used to work in a place where I persistently got approached by pyramid scheme people, right? They'd always come up to people, like, and people that I work with, me specifically, and say like, hey, you seem really cool. Like, have you ever considered a career in a business field? Here's my card. Like, you should come to a meeting. Like, that's kind of right?
Yeah.
I got so into that I started being like, I want to seek these people out and get on there, like start talking to them. And I thought eventually, like, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if you go to a band's show and like they're like, hey everybody, thanks for coming out. Like we're gonna do a couple of these songs and then we're gonna do a little presentation afterwards. So stick around, we'll bang out a couple of these songs. And so like we did this show where we try to get like it's a pyramid scheme and we do like a little presentation mid songs and stuff. And like we bring out chips and drinks for people and put on name tags, and we had like khaki pants and blue button-up shirts and stuff. Like the idea was to get people to be like, wait, am I in a is this band for real? Or you know what I mean?
No, that sounds awesome.
Oh man, so fun. And like the thing is, like in between all that crap, we're ripping, like we're playing like crazy music, right? So it's like I don't believe it's true, but I'm trying to get that lapse of like I wanted their reality to break a little bit, and that's kind of the whole idea of Other Families. That's kind of what we try to do, especially with our theater productions and stuff like that. Like they're very weird, like they're very like far out, and there's a lot of like kind of things that come out towards the audience that you wouldn't expect in a theater production.
Do you want to talk about a bit about the theater part of Other Families?
Yeah. So one of the original members, Josh, is and always has been an actor, like full on. That's his main thing. He's currently like acting, like that's his job. Well, I don't know what he's doing right now. I think he's doing what he can as an actor, but like him and the writer Zach specifically, they write really it just kind of experimental plays, and we kind of do their music, like the Toronto crew. So like me and whoever is in the band, like we'll go to either Montreal or they come here and we'll like be the band for their show, or they'll be the show for our band kind of thing, and like kind of cross-pollinate that way. But it's still Other Families no matter what. So like currently we're actually I probably shouldn't talk about it, but like in the past we've done just like I don't know, experimental theater that kind of like has a bit of audience participation kind of cut out in it, and like not necessarily participation, but we really like immersive theater, like theater that kind of takes you and brings you to this room and you know, that kind of
like it's more it's not, you're not sitting down, you're taking the audience around places.
Yeah, and this person next to me is an actor maybe, and like that guy's about to say a line or that kind of stuff, you know.
Oh, well, like those dinner theaters or something like that, like murder mysteries.
yeah, but cooler. Yeah, exactly. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and it might be that, or it might be something else that like we're trying to do that just kind of pushes the envelope a little bit. We just don't want to do the same old crap. You know what I mean? If we're doing theater, we're gonna do it like weird Other Family style, you know, which is good. That's like we want to just keep moving forward. You know, that's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm. I guess a good way for us as listeners to hear that progression is from the albums. The albums are all up on the Bandcamp page. You probably know more. Well, you do know more about them than I do. I only got introduced to you guys. I think we got communicated between the house.xct_ and Moonrock. So okay. I'm not too familiar with the earlier ones. Maybe you want to walk through the albums and what they kind of brought out into the world.
Yeah, totally. So they're all really different. they all kind of got a bit of a different theme. So the first one was kind of just like I said, in the first incarnation, we had just like a bunch of different angles, and it's really just like a weirdo grab bag of like, it's very much like, oh, it's the most like this one is a punk song. This is a dance song. Now we're gonna do a cover. It's like a variety, and there's only 7 tracks on that one, but and it doesn't like sound great, but that's kind of like the allure of it. Like I really like that first record because it like it has little bits of even the stuff that we do today in it without us knowing originally,
It's
right?
like a prelude
Yeah,
album.
yeah, we did we did good. The second one was it's called Physics, and it's from 2014 we put that one out. This
It,
one's a little bit more electronic based. It's also very it's the most uh aggressive, I would say, like the most outwardly aggressive album. It's a lot of harder vocals and like kind of freakier structures and more dissonant stuff going on. There's a lot of like kind of hardcore and like aggressive dance music, EDM, like packed into that one. It's it's a people love it or hate it, that one, you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
go through days of loving it, and I go through days where I'm like, oh god, not this one again, you know. Um,
Or one song I
then
do like from that album, because I played it on the SMK, is a Widower.
there you go. Yeah, I like that one too. I do like that one. That one's one of my favorite ones on that. There's
Because
another one called
isn't it like a story kind of? Because
yeah,
the one part that's like very disruptive of the song is like a woman answering the door for a delivery.
yeah. There's a little skit in that song.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. That's probably my favorite one on the record. It's still actually there's a couple bangers on that one, man. I keep forgetting. Another one that we still love to play is called Middleweight. It's like the last track or the second last track on there. Um, I think the composition on that one's really strong. That song. The next one was the Maximalist album, the album that like we went nuts for. And this one was 2016, called House.xct. Um, this album took 2 full years to write, but not just the music. Like we also did like we coupled the album with a video game that was kind of like you get the album on a USB stick, like on a USB key, and it's partitioned into 2 sides. So one side is the music, you get the music right away. The second side is like a 16 gigabyte giant video game that you play in your computer's file browser. So like you open up a folder, it says uh, east hallway or west hallway, which do you want to do? So you click on the little west hallway, and then you go, okay, so I want to go into this room. It's another folder. You go into that room, and it's actually all mapped out to a real blueprint, and each one of these rooms has all this content in it. Zach wrote books of writing, all kinds of poetry and experimental text, and that I did like I don't know hundreds of little bits of songs and stuff all throughout that. There's all kinds of weird movies and little games and stuff. It was a really crazy project.
Yeah, but it's incredible. Like, yeah, that you were able to. Like, maximalist is a good word for that. Like, I would still want to try and play that game. The game.
It's the actual physical copies are pretty hard to get now.
Oh, do you not
Um,
have any more copies?
I don't think I do. I think we might have some in Montreal, but I'm not totally sure. Um, but we've always talked about doing a second run of that, but the price to get a USB key done the way we used to do it, like with 16 gigs of stuff, like that that's expensive now. It used to be pretty affordable, but we're still trying to get like a good deal to repress that album.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can play it online. Actually, I'll give you a link to it. You can play the game online. I'm pretty sure that still exists. I've been paying for it this whole time, so it better still be there.
Yeah. Yeah, from that album, I think there's also, you guys have a music video for it, Ransom Notes, which is also the first track off the
Yeah,
House album.
that's the freakiest Other Families album. It's if you want a hard time getting into a band, check out that because like there's a lot to try to scare you away from getting into listening to it, but it's also it's full of really catchy earworms. So if you have like the patience to go through that record, like there's a lot of torture, but there's also stuff that really hits home and really is like pretty sweet. That's when we started getting into open collaboration, and that's when the actual physical form of the band really started to change with different members and a bunch of different vocalists getting in on that. And there's a lot of different tastes in there. You can kind of hear it when you go through that album, that there's more than just the normal crew in there. There's all kinds of different people contributing to that.
More guest musicians, and like from like around your sphere.
Yeah. Well, I think the first two records. Well, I know the first two records were the original four dudes with a couple other like surprises here and there. Right. This is when we first met Paul, our drummer, who's like a staple in the band now. And he like, I don't know, man. There's probably like 10 people that were in and out of in that time, right? So there's a lot of different prints on that record. That's why I like listening to it, because it's like a time capsule, right? It reminds me of all these different people, all these wicked times, and each song is like pretty far out. It's a pretty dense album. And in contrast, like when we were done that one, like I wanted to do something really simple, really like traditional, and that's when we did Moonrock, which is like our 8-track kind of like no bullshit, just like 8 songs, no skits, no garbage. Like it's just music on that album, right?
It's more like a coherent stream of compositions.
Yeah. And like I was saying, like before, when we really focused the live show on doing weirdo, like freaky stuff, like not this time. No, we're just doing band shows. We're just doing like normal. I'm going to play bass. You're going to play drums. We're not going to freak anyone out. We're just going to play these songs, right? That it was kind of a departure from the 2 years that we spent doing the crazy album. You know what I mean? Like
the crazy album.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I honestly haven't listened to that our houses all the way through, and I do and I do know like some of the song titles are kind of scary.
Yep. Some of the songs aren't even freaking songs. They're just crazy noises coming at you.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now.
But yeah. Some songs in there that are like, "Oh, my mom's calling." Decline.
Oh.
There's some songs that are like have really beautiful, like really kind of melodic parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's kind of the point. That's what we were trying to do. And then that brings us into 2020, and this year we're doing singles only. There's no album. There's no album this year, and that's on purpose. We're not.
Even before
found that, like,
COVID came,
when we do an album, there's certain people that really take to it, and it becomes their album, and they say, "Oh my God, thanks for this album." But the majority don't really consume music like that anymore, you know. And I feel like doing an album, you get like your money's worth out of the singles, or like a bunch of songs or whatever, but like never the full thing. Whereas if you do singles, like everybody's work is appreciated one thing at a time. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into another family song. Not just the composition, but like the artists that we choose to involve, or that involve themselves. Like, we really want to showcase what we do. And I think in an album, like there's almost too much to digest for some people, you know, especially if you want them to be like, hey, look at this person. Like, this person wasn't here before. Like, check that. Like, no, that kind of gets lost when you're putting out 17 songs in a row or something like that, right?
Well, like, especially because the new incarnation has, I believe, 7 members now.
So this year, the mandate, I think, is to do 5 songs in 2020, 5 singles with 2 different vocalists on each track. So there's no real person who's our singer this year. We're just going to have a male and a female vocalist that change on each track. So 2 singers per song, but no actual singer this year.
There's no set position, I guess, for the singer. It's just like you ask somebody and they'll sing for you guys, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Singers are hard, man. Singers are hard to organize because like they're busy people, but like it's also cool because they're the centerpiece of the band for that particular video or song or whatever else. So like it's the most noticeable thing that changes, and it's also the thing you'd recognize most from their own original project, right? We're taking people who are actually active musicians in other bands and that kind of thing to sing with us, and that's kind of a cool networking tactic for everybody, right? Like suddenly the fans of that band are like, oh, who's this band that they collaborated with and stuff, and vice versa for us, right? Or for people who, like, if people want to check out, oh, who was that female vocalist on that last Other Family song? It was Steph from frickin' Young Honey. That's her band. You can find her, kind of thing. And now it's a cross pollination tactic, right? But musician wise, we have me on bass as usual, and like the production. Paul Geldart from Wax Limbs and Astrolope. He's like a pretty active Toronto drummer, and he's our golden boy. He's like a big staple in the band. He's been here for, I don't know, like six years now with us. He's a real trooper. Sinead, who her artist name is Animal Party. She's on guitar with us. We have Megan on sax. And who else is in my band? Jackson Welcher, who was the wicked lead vocalist, the jazzy dude on Moonrock. He
has a gorgeous voice, a very powerful voice as well.
Sir?
He has a powerful voice from Moonrock.
Oh yeah, man. That Jackson's a killer. He's a killer. So he's on keys, and he's going to be doing backup vocals. And I think he's probably going to give his own track too eventually, because he's just so damn good. But who am I missing, man? I guess just the vocals. Zach is our lyricist. He's currently living in another country, so like he's doing most of his work from remote. But generally the way we write songs is I do the composition, I send it to Zach to write lyrics to and write a melody on, and then from there we just kind of give that material to whoever wants in on it, and they kind of stretch it and bend it to whatever they want, right? So whatever the song is, whatever the demo sounds like, I'll give it to Paul and say, hey, do your drums on it now, make it your own thing. And like he always does, and it's always better than the original, right? The culmination of all the parts is always better than just me just putting something out on the computer, you know?
Yeah, so sorry, just to clarify, so you give all the members a demo, and then they just, like, do you not give any big guidelines? Do you just let them go at it?
I always prefer for them to do their own flavor. You know what I mean? Like, God forbid if you don't want to write your own part, just do what I did. That's totally fine. But it always comes out in their own flavor anyway. But I'm happiest when somebody takes what I did and just like messes with it and like makes it their own, right? Like, because I can't really write for people better than they can do their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know your own strength better than I do. I could say like, hey, that thing that you do, can you do that thing there? But like, I want their sensibility on it. And like once that's actually in place, then it actually starts sounding like Other Families to me. Like that's the missing piece of the puzzle, you know, like just me doing it, it's not done, you know, even if all the parts are there and it's all in place and it sounds great, like it's not ready to put out yet. It's got to have this other thing to it. And that's like the band aspect of it, right?
Yeah, like you're all working together like cooperatively, and just like a family.
Yeah, exactly.
So far in 2020, you guys have released 2 singles at this point of this recording.
Yeah.
That would be That's What I Am and Lap. Do you want to talk about those singles?
Cool. Yeah, totally, man. I think my biggest weakness as a songwriter or composer specifically is like simplicity. Like I have a problem with being stripped down. Like my natural, what I usually reach towards is adding instead of subtracting. Like whether it be parts or notes or length of song or anything. Like I I usually go too hard in my own mind, right?
Mhm.
So this group of songs, I've been trying to actively scale back in terms of composition. Like they're simpler than they have been in the past, and I think like the music that I used to listen to in high school, it was all like really changey. It was all like really like progressive and freaky, but like that's a hard taste to get into if you're not used to it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
we're definitely trying to be a little bit more friendly this year, a little bit more like um applicable to like 2020 and stuff. Like guitar-y music is kind of hard to it's hard to push unless like you're pushing it to that audience. So like these songs are actively more simple than other family songs used to be in a good way. You know what I mean? Like not in a like, hey, we're doing a pop record. No, it's still cool music in my opinion. It's just like scaled back in a more tasteful way. So the first single, That's What I Am, has a real like it's just like one beat all the way through. The bass line's pretty simple. It just goes the whole time. There's like all these things that hang off of it, but structurally it's pretty. There's nothing crazy going on, right? Um, and it's definitely got like a like a kind of like a slower kind of like a I don't know, kind of a funkier thing than we've ever done before. Sort of like the beat's kind of like a break beat or something like that, like a slow hip hop break beat, like an old school thing or something, right?
Yeah, like
Um,
kind of like swag, chill, kind of.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. And it's the vocalist on there. Like I mentioned before, one of the female vocalists. Her name is Steph. She's a good friend from a band called Young Honey. That band's kind of like a. She kind of like does like a pop punk sort of like a Paramore sort of kind of band there. But like she's got a really cool voice and a really wicked aesthetic, and it really worked with us. And the male vocalist is actually Josh from the first two records. We brought him back for that song. So like
oh, that's awesome.
he knew exactly what to do. You know what I mean? Like he's been there before. So like he didn't take any time like getting the hang of it. He just stepped in. Um, and then the most recent song that we put out, LAP, that one's kind of got like a kind of like a classic rock kind of vibe. Again, really simple in comparison to what we used to do. And there's a lot of like dead space in that song. There's a lot of like bah,
Oh yeah.
bah, bah, like hits and stuff. Um, and the vocalist there, we have my cousin. The female is her name is Sam. Her artist name is Sam Doll, and I'm related to her. She's my first cousin. We've always kind of been meaning to do some musical collaboration at some point, but I don't know. This was the perfect opportunity. She nailed that. And the male vocalist, his name is Aaron. He's another actor from Toronto, and he freaking nailed that too, man. And we got the recording done prior to the quarantine, and then quarantine hit, but we wanted to do a video for it, so ended up being a perfect freaking quarantine video opportunity, and that's what we did. And we were like,
I've
we
seen
were
that
pretty early
video.
on. So, oh, sorry. What's it?
Yeah, I've seen that video. Like you guys in your separate rooms and houses doing like playing or singing and doing other crazy things.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
then we get to see your turtle actually.
Tortoise.
Your tortoise.
Do you know the difference between a turtle and a tortoise?
No, wouldn't say confidently.
A turtle is amphibious, so they can live either in the water or on the ground. Tortoises are strictly terrestrial, so they don't swim. They live on the ground only.
Okay.
So that's what I got. I got tortoises. They don't swim.
Oh, and you also you dyed your hair in that video?
Yeah.
That is actually something I want to try doing. It was purple, right?
Yeah. Now's the time, man. Now's the time. If I had to work or whatever, I wouldn't have dyed it. But nobody saw except the people who watched the video. So it's perfect, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it looked cool. But right after that, I cut it all off. So.
Well, you do look very nice, very handsome.
Thank
you. So, with this quarantine going on, is there any plans for other families moving forward?
Yep. We're always moving forward, man. We're always, even if we don't feel like it, we're always doing something. You know, there's always something in the works. So, like I said, we're doing 5 singles this year. So number 3 is, we're doing it. Like we're already started. We're gonna be trying to get more vocalists to be like to come in and collab on the songs coming after that. We're also doing some more theatrical writing. Like me and Zach and Josh are doing kind of other script writing, which we won't be able to like do until the quarantine's lifted because it's going to be multiple people. But my mom again. Get you later.
We're almost done.
We're almost done, Mom. Embarrassing. Yeah, we've been writing a lot, and like the songs that are coming up, like they're already written. We just have to like kind of record them from remote, which is also challenging. Like we have to record them separately and send them in to me and stuff. And like also kind of prep the musicians or singers or whoever's involved and like say like, all right, here's what we're thinking for this song. You know, it's easy when you can talk from across the room. It's a lot harder when you have to like be like, okay, this is what I want you to play on Zoom. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because you can't really jam or anything, and like a lot of the directional ideas for composition come from jamming. Anyway, we're always doing something. Like a little quarantine is not going to stop us from moving forward. It's hindering, and if I don't get 5 songs done this year, I'm accepting the fact that it's going to be okay. We'll get 4. I'm thinking at least 5 might be difficult, but God damn it, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I just don't want to do a bunch of quarantine videos. You know, that's boring. I want to do like if we're going to do another music video, I want it to maybe like. If we can't get together, then maybe something like animated or something. But I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, that would be good. Something like that. If you can find an animator to do
tall order,
some sort of weird
hard to find that guy
thing. Also, Jesse, it's very nice of you to talk with you like this, like the best way we can. Yeah. And one day, I hope we can have you guys in the studio or at the station.
I'd love that, man. I'd love that. I'd love to be in your studio, but I'd also love to be with my band again. Like, can't wait to see those guys, and I can't wait to actually play shows and stuff. And I think something like that is going to be happening prior to there actually being shows. I think, you know what I mean? So we're totally down to. Once we can get together and gather in small groups and that kind of stuff and start jamming again, a show like that is exactly what we'd want to do. And it's probably exactly what a lot of fans would want to do. Something without a physical audience, but something where you can actually jam as a group. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll totally take you up on that, man. Sounds super fun.
Yeah, sounds good. How can our listeners and viewers, if they can, support you and other families right now?
The best way to support us is just like being our friend, you know, like just following us. And we don't really want your money. Like money's great, but what we really want is just like friendship from our audience. And we want, if you want to engage with us somehow, like talk some on our YouTube videos or like insult us on Instagram and stuff, and we'll start a little fight. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Friendly fight.
That's kind of what we want. Other families is all about the theatrics, right? So the best way to support us is to like what's the word? To coax us, to freaking instigate us to be ourselves, right? So follow us on Instagram and Facebook and whatever else. Listen to our music and either insult us or compliment us or whatever you want to do, man. We're just happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely. And one last question. Do you have any words of wisdom to give to everyone?
Stay off those chemical drugs, man. You know, it's nothing but trouble. Stay off chemical drugs. I used to think like everybody should make art. Everybody should be creative and make art. You have nothing to lose. I think I've grown out of that. You know what I mean? I think making art stresses some people out. You know, like some people don't find it therapeutic. I personally, I'm an artsy guy, so I'm going to make art. But like, don't feel the pressure to be productive. Don't feel the pressure to make stuff if it doesn't come naturally. The last thing you want it to do is feel like work. You know, like I used to be really into like, oh, I'll do production. I'll like mix your song for money. I'll like do this commercial for some cash. And like, I want to be a producer, music producer. But like, I've come to realize that like creativity is kind of like, I equate it to kind of like a cup. And if I spill it, spilled my creativity on something that I don't give a shit about, like it doesn't come out right for the stuff that I really should be caring about. Right. Mm-hmm. So like treat whatever gift you have, even if it's not an artsy thing, treat it with respect. You know what I mean? Like that's the money. Like you want to protect that. Don't buy into the bullshit, man. Money's not everything. Just be creative if you want to, but if it gets weird, stop and just rethink your shit.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse, for this great interview. It was very nice to be able to talk.
Yeah, man. Great time. This is a fun one. Better go call my mom.
Yeah, that's a good idea.